Hello, I'm going to share with you first time marathon advice from someone who just finished their first ever marathon. My name's Adam and I'm not really a runner, but just yesterday I went for it with the LA Marathon 2023 and I was somewhat prepared, but the more I speak with people, the more I realize I wasn't prepared. However, I still did finish in 4.5 hours with an average pace of 10 minutes and 19 seconds per mile. And I figured while it's fresh in my mind, even though I don't know when this video will come out, I will share kind of how it went and what I did, because I surprised myself into sustaining a jog the entire marathon. No major cramps, no major injuries. I just did it and I exceeded my own expectations, and I'll share the little things I did leading up, where I may have fallen short from getting my best time. I know I could have done better with more training. Saturday, February 4th, 2023. I've done the scariest, dumbest, and most exciting thing I've done in a while, and I signed up for the 2023 LA Marathon 6 weeks before the actual race. People train a year plus 6 months, 9 months. I signed up on a whim and started training. I put the air quotes because I did not train properly. My buddy said that when he trained for his marathon and took it seriously, he got at least 3 20-mile runs completed before the day of the marathon. And I will share now how much running I did. Granted, I used to enjoy 2-mile loops in the neighborhood I used to live in, but when it became marathon training time, I did one 10-mile run just to see how far I could go on a treadmill. I did maybe 4 or 5 different outdoor 6 to 8-mile runs. And then I did one 17-mile run. None of those were 20 miles, and they were all spread out. I'd been stressed juggling different life. We just moved into this house. Lots was going on. I was not giving training the respect it needed. I have no true sense of 26 miles. And it's time to just hop on the treadmill and see where I'm at. I need a start point because this is very daunting and I almost asked for a refund. You should probably run more than I did, further than I did. Definitely run further than 10 miles and focus on your breath. How long can I maintain this deep breathing? Do I need to slow down to maintain this deep breathing? And you can learn that on the treadmill. I'm about to go into LA Fitness and figure it out. I've never even focused on cardio for those type of durations. I'm not ready. And here we go. I definitely harnessed my breathing on treadmill training, and then you're ready to hit the sidewalks or hit the streets. I think running on the road is better for your knees than sidewalk, because like asphalt versus concrete. But running on the road is dangerous, so I ran on sidewalks, and it's just the way it is. But is your body capable, you know? And I had some ibuprofen following knee pain in training and following the marathon, but I'm certainly not going to continue taking ibuprofen. The marathon's done. I'm just going to recover now. But you know, temporary anti-inflammatory medication to try and reduce your recovery time so you can keep training. Nutrition leading up, I like to eat healthy in general. I typically lean more on the vegetarian side, but I'm certainly not a vegetarian. Just try not to do red meat before the race. Try and keep it like salmon and chicken, poultry, something lighter. Alcohol, I reduced the amount I was drinking. In the 6 weeks, I probably had alcohol 3 or 4 different occasions. And I even had alcohol 1 week before the marathon. I went to Medieval Times for a friend's birthday and I had a buzz ball in the parking lot. I'm not proud of it, but I was worried that that would come back and haunt me. However, so I sometimes used to smoke weed, but I stopped smoking completely. No lung burning, no vaping, no smoking whatsoever. So if you're thinking about doing a marathon, but you still hit your vape or smoke joints or something like that, you should probably stop that. I wanted to give my lungs the best chance because the endurance really comes down to maintaining rhythmic, consistent breathing. It goes without saying, like, limit the vices when you're trying to get your body in tip-top shape. As far as gear went, when I ran those 10 feeler miles on the treadmill, I realized my knees started hurting. So I got compression sleeves for my knees, the ones that are just right above and below. And I started icing them after every time I ran. Specifically my left knee. Bad knees run in my dad's side of the family. And that actually hindered my training quite a bit because I didn't want to make knee bone pain worse by trying to run. So I would wait until my knee started feeling better and then do another extensive run. So if you have pre-existing injuries, you have to play the long game and balance. I want good training, but I don't want to dig myself into a deeper hole, make recovery even longer, and I don't know if I'll even be ready to run on race day. As far as footwear goes, I went to Roadrunner shoes or Roadrunner Sports, and they actually had a machine there that did a 6-point scan of my feet. They filmed me jogging on a treadmill, and they customized insoles for me. And I got the Asics Nimbus 25s, but I had tried Hoka's on. I think they brought out a pair of Brooks. They had me try like 5 pairs of shoes, and I did little laps around the store to figure out what felt the best. I settled with the Nimbus 25s, and with, $90 custom insoles, I mean, it came out to between $200 and $300 I spent to get the right shoes. But these are shoes intended for long distance running. So I didn't want to be ignorant and think, well, I can just wear the Nikes I wear every day now. They're trainer shoes. So I invested. I'm not a marathon runner. I may not run another marathon. Maybe. I don't know. But I did want to give this marathon the respect it deserves. And I ordered compression socks from Amazon, a 3-pack. I just went with what was well reviewed for these compression socks. And then I followed the size chart. And I will say my feet don't hurt today. And this is one day after the marathon. My feet weren't even sore yesterday. I like playing pickup basketball. I had rolled my ankle. And in my long runs, I realized my right ankle was still kind of hurting. So I found my ankle brace and reintroduced that to my training. I also got a little runner's fanny pack, a very thin one that can just fit your phone and a couple other things. So once I felt I had my runner's kit, I started wearing it all every time I ran. I needed to break in my shoes. I got the shoes 3 to 4 weeks before the marathon, and my first outdoor run with the marathon pair was about 6 miles. But I may have done some gym treadmill running before that, even just to introductory break in. You have to have the shoes broken in by the time it's race day. They are your pair. They are the sacred pair, but they need to be extremely comfortable. All the cautionary tales, don't switch it up right on game day. Do not run in a fresh pair of shoes. And that goes for the dry fit shirt I ran in as well. I had tried a couple different materials. One of them gave the infamous nipple chafing and the other one didn't. So my light blue work shirt is what I ran this marathon in. And I didn't have any nipple issues, although I did invest in Body Glide to be sure I had no nipple issues. So shoes are decided, socks are decided. I have an ankle brace on my right ankle because I've identified pain that maybe didn't quite heal completely before I started training. I have my knee sleeves. I have Runhill compression underwear, which gave me no issues with chafing. I ran in my Hurley Phantom shorts. They're like board shorts, casual short hybrids. They're a little long. They're not like a cliche runner's thin, flowy, thigh high. They're right above my knees. And I had my little light blue work shirt. It's like a generic brand. I think I got a 2-pack for it on Amazon. Everything's faded. It's an old shirt. So that was my kit. I had my waist pouch, which I fit my phone, and I fit a bunch of goo energy gels in on race day. So I'll talk about the week leading up to the race. The race was on Sunday, yesterday, and the Tuesday before the race, I did 17 miles. And I think that was a little late to do a run at that distance because the week before is supposed to be tapering week. However, I had not even gone past 10 miles in my training at all. And I had a gap in my work and this move stress. I ran 17 miles 5 days before the marathon, and I needed a couple days to recover from that. In the 17-mile run, I introduced the Goo Energy Gel packets. I went with the Roctane Blueberry Pomegranate because it had the highest caffeine content. You need to introduce those Goo Energy Gels in training because you have to know what they taste like. You have to know how your body responds. And I will say, in my 17-mile run, I only stopped. Well, I had to stop at traffic crossings because this was not a blocked off route for me. I had to create a route. But I only stopped once for actual water hydration. This was not a smart thing to do because I didn't get a sense of proper hydration for a long run. I didn't own a Camelback. I still don't. I didn't want to run with a water bottle because I wouldn't be during the marathon. So I experienced very intense muscle fatigue, and I chugged water once versus taking baby sips all throughout. And that led to a little water gut, and it was discouraging. I thought my body wouldn't be able to handle long distances, but I still did complete the 17 miles, and I'm glad I did. But there has to be a better way. I needed a better way to train for the pacing of hydration and refueling, and a lot was learned. The only thing I did right was the increments of the Goo Energy Gels. I got that practiced and down. Everything else was fatigue and just all over the place. So you learn a lot in those initial long runs. And on Thursday, 2 days after the 17-mile run, I ran 4.4 miles, a quick little square I had made around the neighborhood. Lots of stretching, recovery, collagen and glucosamine, right? Right, where my health nerds at. Friday night, I sat in the steam room for 20 minutes. And it gets hot in there and you're sweating crazy. And I was just focused on breathing. And mind you, I don't listen to music when I'm in the sauna, when I'm going on my runs, and some people call it extremely weird, but I just took it all in. I just want my own reflection and process. A marathon is very meditative, and if you are not comfortable in your own thoughts, I suggest you start dealing with what you're juggling. Personally, I'm juggling being in between jobs and full-time income and this move and how I felt like I was undertrained. And that's the way it went for me as far as upstairs, but you can overcome it when you keep your mind on the big picture. Friday leading into Saturday, I slept very well. It was my first chance. I recommend in the last few days leading up, if you can just bank one. I know work Thursday, Friday, it's hard to wake up whenever you want, but Saturday, the day before the race, if you can just go to bed Friday with no alarm set and sleep in just as long as you can Saturday, because there's just such a small chance you'll sleep well on the night before the race. I went to bed between 11 and midnight the night before the race, Saturday night, and woke up. My alarm went off at 3:55 a.m. because I had to get to Dodger Stadium by, 5:30 or whatever, and I had no idea how well or how coordinated or uncoordinated the traffic would be. Luckily, it was pretty smooth for passenger drop-off. So rest-wise, yes, try and get a good night's sleep, at least Friday night going into Saturday. Friday night, race is Sunday morning. One thing I learned about in my research leading up to my first marathon is carb loading. It is Friday dinner that you're supposed to go crazy with the carbs. I made a massive bowl of pasta. I mixed 3 different boxes in. One of them was whole wheat pasta and the 2 others were white pastas. I think whole wheat's a little better for the system, but I had whole wheat and white pasta in the bowl. And the only thing I added to it was garlic salt. None of this cheesy Alfredo, spaghetti, nothing. Butter. Buttered noodles with garlic salt. Big old bowl of it. Okay, I may have overdone it. I mean, this is quite a bit of pasta. I didn't know how serious carb loading was. I can only report on how my performance went. If carb loading was intended to reduce muscle fatigue and give you that glycerin, I think it is, to run and run and run, then I owe this pasta bowl a lot of thanks. So Friday night I went big on eating. That to me was about 3 regular human bowls of pasta. Saturday lunch, I had 1 big bowl of pasta. And Saturday dinner, I had very light pasta with shredded rotisserie chicken. So I mixed a little protein in there for Saturday dinner. And don't eat right before you go to sleep on Saturday night. You have to have time to keep kind of moving around and let it digest. I'm done eating at 8 and I get everything ready for the morning. On Saturday, I went to pick up my bib at Dodger Stadium. I pinned it to my light blue work shirt I'd be running in. I laid out my shorts. I chose my socks. And in the long runs I had done, I identified which toes got hot. Despite wearing these special compression socks and my special shoes, I still got some of my toes feeling stingy, blistery after the long runs. And I wrapped 3 or 4 individual toes, my right pinky toe, my left tall toe, tough Band-Aids, the ones that are not so papery feeling. I applied ointment on those, and even then, that wasn't perfect. I don't know if you want to preemptively wrap all 10 toes, but I still got a little hot after the marathon on my 4th toe on my left foot. But that's what's so important about training, not just lung endurance and building your muscles up for distance, but identifying what starts to hurt after distance and then beat that for the actual big run. I wanted the only variable that would have to be tested to be my lungs, my breathing, and my willpower, my mind. I didn't want an ankle to take me out of my zone or make me fall short of my goal. The morning of the race, I got up at 3:55 so that I could have a breakfast before 5, as well as coffee and a number 2 before leaving home. I got all this pasta in my system. My body's taking what it needs from the carbs, but you just got all this food in your gut. And that's what's important about eating early the night before, to make sure you can empty your system and relieve yourself before leaving home for the race. I would have been a whole different kind of worried had I not gone to the bathroom in that way before leaving home around 5 a.m. So between 4 and 5, I have a decent amount of black coffee, maybe 2 to 3 cups worth in my little therm. And my breakfast was sourdough bread with organic crunchy peanut butter and sliced bananas. And that worked out fine for me. When my girlfriend dropped me off at the race, I had a Cliff peanut butter banana bar walking up to security checkpoint. And I had my pre-workout, about a scoop and a half, in a bottle I was ready to get rid of. I had used Body Glide all over my body when I arrived, all the crevices like knees, groin, nipples, and threw it away. I didn't want it on my person during the race. At 6:20, I got myself into a long porta potty line and started drinking my pre-workout because it takes 30 to 40 minutes to activate. And I went to do basically my final potty break before this run started. And then from 6:30 to 6:50, basically, I was just stretching, more than I've ever stretched before a run. And I know there's supposed to be like 30 minutes of stretching. I even stretched the night before, just loose. I wandered my way into the 11 or 12 minute pace section. They let the elite women go at 6:45. They let the handicap racers go early, and then they let the elite men go right at the 7 o'clock gun, and then the rest of us just mobbed our way closer and closer to the start line. It took me till 7:10 a.m. to even get to the start line after the gun went off. 10 minutes from where I was standing in the mob to start. When it came time to run the marathon, I maintained the same pace throughout. I was warned by countless run vloggers, running channels, that if you go out of the gate with too much enthusiasm, too much go, fast energy, faster than your trained pace, you will absolutely hit a wall and burn out. It's so congested those first 3 to 6 to 7 miles that you're wasting energy trying to weave between people. You'll have plenty of opportunity to speed up later in the race if you want to, because these gaps will gradually get bigger and bigger between groups of people. But at the beginning, everyone's just, here we go, but we're all still very close together. I picked a speed that I knew I could maintain full, deep breathing, and I maintained that breathing for the entire race. And maybe that pace could have been faster with more training, but that has to be the benchmark for a pace you can maintain for 26 miles. So the nutrition that allowed me to run the entire time was water and electrolytes. They have 2 beverage options at every refuel station, every mile. The first group of people are holding out Electrolyte. That was the sports drink sponsor at this race. I took Electrolyte and water at every fuel station. They always had Electrolyte first. I took that back, and then they had water following the Electrolyte hands, and I took that. And if they gave me a cup that had a ton of water in it, I would drink maybe a third or half of that and then throw the rest into the pile. You hate to litter, but it's just the culture of the marathon. You can't always wait and look for a trash can. You may have missed the trash cans. So don't waterlog yourself, but understand that even if you aren't thirsty, you're going to need that liquid. You're going to need those electrolytes from those fuel stations. They are at those points for a reason. Don't be in denial and don't try and skip for time, because all these decisions are ultimately what got me across the finish line without stopping. So every water and electrolyte station, I took about that much of each. And I had been advised, do one or the other. If you're really thirsty, do both. But I just played it safe. I was thinking, if I'm going to get a stomach cramp, I'll know I'm taking too much liquid at these stations. But I never got a stomach cramp. And even in 62 and overcast running conditions, I was not getting a water gut stomach cramp from taking this liquid at every station, which told me that my body needed it. A little cheat code, there's typically a longer line of water hand-arouters than you're aware of, and there are like 4 people trying to get water from someone who only has 2 cups. Go around, like your electrolytes you do have to grab before the water begins, so okay, maybe there's a longer pause. I wasn't thinking about seconds like that because I didn't know if I would even be running after 17 miles. I literally thought I may have to resort to walking, but if I don't, if my body says you don't have to stop now, I'm not going to stop. Now, as far as the goo energy gels go, I had 8 in my runner's Fanny. So in my Fanny on race day, I had a few Band-Aids, 8 goo energy gels, my phone, and a very tiny thing of sunscreen, which I applied before the race, but not during the race. Some people had camel bags, some people had other bags. I just kept it light. I ran the way I trained. That is a major thing. Like, don't change anything last minute because you're doing research like this. Like, if you did all your training with the camelback and that's now embedded in the process, just run with the camelback. I had my little runner's pouch with my phone. I practiced running with my phone in there, with gels in there, and now I'm going to do it on race day. So these goo energy gels, I took one between every 3 and 4 miles, roughly every 30 to 40 minutes. I took another one. And even if I didn't feel malnourished like I needed it, I just, with discipline, took these energy gels. They're giving you sugar energy, they're giving you electrolytes, and they're giving you carbohydrates. Same goal the pasta had, to attach to your muscles and keep allowing them to burn from something so they don't burn themselves out. At mile 3, I take a gel. Between mile 6 and 7, I take a gel. I pee at mile 9. The porta potties are all jammed up, the first few rounds of available racing porta potties. So I waited until I saw the shortest lines I could at the threshold of my bladder. I really had to pee by mile 9. And I found one that was just like one person deep, and they have like a row of 10. So I rush into the bathroom, I rush out, hand sanitizer, and keep going on my way. And these incremental gels, I peed again at mile 19. And once I passed the notorious mile 20 marker where everyone says you're prone to hit the wall, I didn't hit the wall. And some could say, well, you didn't try and go faster. Maybe that's why you didn't hit the wall. You just kept this relatively slow pace the entire race. Well, that was better than I expected to do. I didn't know. I've never ran past 17 miles. So I knew I had 9 miles unaccounted for in my body's memory. So I didn't want to push it. If you're not going to train 26 miles, you have to be prepared for what that feels like. Once I was on the other side of 20 miles, there was no way I was going to stop. And I will say, between mile 20 and the end, those last 6 miles, I must have passed 1,000 plus people. People that were, until that point, very much ahead of me, but had resorted to walking. And these are people that looked extremely fit. And there were people passing me that didn't look fit. You just never know where people are at, and it doesn't matter. But I will say, my strategy of I will just maintain what I know I can breathe through. That strategy led me to leapfrogging quite a bit in the home stretch. Whether I owe it to carb loading, I owe it to getting water and electrolytes every mile, I owe it to every 30-minute gel packs. I didn't lose any part of my body. I didn't begin to suffer in any part of my body. And I was just so overjoyed that that was the case. And once I hit the 26-mile mark, you only have 0.2 miles left. And the cheering's getting louder. You see the finish arch. And I had something in the tank. I wasn't on fumes. So I just took off. And maybe I could have done that a half mile back. But I just took off. I said, there's no point in leaving anything in the tank. I may never do a marathon again. And I ran under that finish line with 4:40 overhead, minus the 10 minutes it took me to start, 4.5-hour marathon. And I was just so overjoyed and so proud of what I had just accomplished. And it's such an intimate, personal achievement because you're out there by yourself. You might be there with your buddies, but only you will reap the benefits or suffer the consequences of how you treated your body and yourself and your mind before doing the race. Got the medal, heavy medal. And it was just awesome. Maybe my time could have been 4 hours, but I ran my race, and I think that's all anyone can ask for when they're trying to do something like this. And that's it. I mean, what have we covered? I prepared my body by cutting out like alcohol and the marijuana I would smoke occasionally. I got the proper shoes. I got the proper socks. I identified ankle pain in long runs and braced up. I identified knee pain in long runs and got my compression sleeves. I used proven athletic underwear that I've used on the job, just like my shirt. And I had recently bought those Phantom shorts that I wore for the race, breathable, light, tied tight. And I got my runner's belt. Okay, well, what do runners do through these races? I researched these GOO energy gels. There's a ton of brands, but I chose GOO. They're available at Dick's Sporting Goods. And I chose a flavor that had the most caffeine, and I bought 10 of them. I used 2 of them on my 17-mile run to introduce my body to that GOO, and then I kept 8 of them for the race, and actually only took 7. I came home with one left in the chamber. Don't get too stressed about having to take a potty break. Just try and choose porta potties that don't have lines so you're not wasting time unnecessarily. My 2 bathroom breaks were very productive. These were big peas that I had banked up and tried to hold off for as long as I could. And luckily, both times I decided it was time to go, it was when I found porta potties that had little to no wait time. Focus on, if I could do it again, maybe between mile 24 and the end, I'm picking up my pace because I know how close I am. But I didn't want to risk a sudden spasm, a sudden cramp, or just feeling like I had to stop. Run the marathon how you trained for it. Don't be afraid to carb load, because I ate a lot of pasta and I did not suffer for it. I saw tons of people stopping for all the different medical services. People had those guns that shoot at your thighs, like give you a quick muscle massage. People stopped for Vaseline re-up. Get that fuel you need at every station and just run your race. You are going to pass thousands, and people are going to pass you the entire race, especially at the beginning. There's no reason to change your plan because of what's around you. These people weren't there when you were training. So now that it's game day, run your race. My pace was over 10 minutes. That's not a super admirable mile pace. Like, whoa, you are so average. But I sustained it for 26 miles. And that's what my friends and family are patting me on the back for. They knew I didn't know what would happen. I knew they would be proud of me for just doing it and finishing and pushing myself. This is something to be proud of. But they were truly impressed by a sustained pace. I was hoping to finish under 5 hours. I finished at 4.5 hours. I achieved my goal of not just finishing, but finishing with a decent time. If you're a first timer, maybe only timer, just like me, do your best to train. Do your best to get the right gear and break it in and be used to it by race day. Do your best to limit your vices leading up to the race, including stress. Do your best to be there on that starting line with an optimistic attitude, and do your best to stick to your pace plan. And that's it. As far as muscle soreness after I completed the marathon, my knees did hurt, as they did after every long run of training. So I iced my knees, and my quads were very sore and tight. Not crampy, but the muscles were very much tired, and I stretched them throughout the afternoon. And this is obviously the day after the race, and my knees and quads are still sore. But that's expected, and neither failed me during the race. My lungs are a little exhausted, but I am ready to do other things, get this house in order. We just moved in. You can hear my girlfriend and her brother in the back, but my body is capable the very next day After the race was done, we went to Cheesecake Factory and I got a beer, you know, the post-marathon beer, and had a burger and fries, you know, start to feel like the discipline is lightened up, but I still want to apply this discipline to all parts of my life. I hope you found some value in this video, and I hope you have a great first marathon whenever you choose to pull the trigger. It truly is a special feeling. I'm trying to relive every mile in my head. LA had some beautiful landmarks to enjoy throughout the race. So much beautiful encouragement on the sidelines as you run. Everyone's in a good mood except for those who start to fail at the end because of a variety of factors. But I did not fail at the end. I maintained. I'm an average runner. I'm an average guy. But that's how it went for me. That's how I pulled this off. So hopefully in all your research of what to do, this fits in. And that's it for me. Good luck out there.